Breaking the silence, mental health in the Black community. The first time I sat down with Chanel Hawks-Hanson, I was struck by something she said that still echoes in my mind. In our community, we've been taught to pray away pain, not talk about it. 20 seconds of silence. That's how long it took before anyone responded when she asked a room full of Black professionals about their mental health struggles. 20 seconds that felt like 20 years, 20 seconds that told a story about stigma, shame, and silence. Today, I want to share the powerful insights from my conversation with Chanel, whose work in mental health advocacy has transformed countless lives in the Black community. Her passion for breaking down barriers to mental wellness isn't just professional, it's revolutionary in a world where our pain is often minimized, medicalized, or completely ignored. Chanel is one of those rare individuals who walks into a room and immediately creates a space where vulnerability becomes strength. Her work has touched thousands of lives, creating ripples of healing that extend far beyond the individuals she directly serves. Let's be honest, we're living in a time where strong Black woman isn't just a compliment, it's a life sentence where Black boy joy gets replaced with Black man be stoic faster than we can blink, where admitting you're not okay feels like betraying generations who endured far worse without complaint. But here's what Chanel taught me: silence isn't strength, it's suffocation. The numbers tell a devastating story. Black Americans are 20% more likely to experience serious mental health conditions compared to the general population, yet less than half receive the care they need. We face a 10% higher rate of psychological distress than other groups. Behind these statistics are real people, our brothers, sisters, parents, children suffering in silence because we've normalized pain as simply part of the Black experience. We've been conditioned to believe that struggle is our birthright, Chanel explained during our interview. But what if healing could be our legacy instead? This question stopped me in my tracks. What if? When the Steve Fund and Child Mind Institute surveyed 1,000 Black parents concerned about their children's emotional well being, in 2024, they uncovered a painful reality many of us already knew. Families reported significant difficulty finding culturally competent providers. Many faced impossibly long wait times. Others couldn't afford services due to insurance gaps. The system wasn't just failing us, it was designed without us in mind. But here's where hope enters the story. These organizations responded by providing tailored resource guides, including telehealth options, and launching digital campaigns encouraging open family discussions. The families who used these resources reported improved communication at home around emotions and an increase in professional help seeking among youth. This is what happens when we create solutions by us for this. It's chess. The barriers we face aren't just about access, though, they're deeply rooted in cultural stigma. In many Black households, Chanel noted, therapy is still seen as something for crazy people or white people problems. We need to reframe mental health care as an act of self preservation, not self indulgence. This stigma shows up early and persists throughout life. The Pew Research Center's Teen Mental Health Report from 2025 found that half of all Black teens expressed high concern over mental health, the highest rate among racial groups. These young people face unique stressors, high exposure to online trauma through viral videos depicting violence against people who look like them, cyberbullying, and the pressure from social comparison. All of this exacerbates existing stressors related to race and class disparities. But again, There's hope in action. Schools that implemented peer led support programs specifically targeting students of color saw increased reporting of distress signs among students. This led more teens toward counseling services early on rather than waiting until crisis points. The validation that culturally sensitive interventions can reduce stigma tied to seeking help isn't just encouraging, it's life saving. Our children are watching us, Chanel emphasized. When we normalize therapy and emotional intelligence, we're not just healing ourselves, we're breaking generational cycles. And let's be clear, our community isn't monolithic. Our experiences with mental health aren't either. A fascinating JAMA Network Open cross sectional study from 2025 analyzed psychological distress across US born versus non US born Black adults. They found that US born participants had higher rates and severity of distress, partly due to the accumulated effects of racism and discrimination unique within the American context versus immigrant peers' experiences. This research led to more nuanced treatment models instead of one size fits all approaches. It helps shift the narrative away from monolithic portrayals toward honoring differences within our communities because healing looks different for each of us, influenced by our unique histories, cultures, and experiences. The most revolutionary thing we can do, Chanel told me, is to recognize that taking care of our mental health isn't selfish, it's sacred, it's ancestral. Our ancestors didn't survive so we could just exist, they survived so we could thrive. This perspective flips the script entirely. What if seeking therapy isn't abandoning our cultural strength, but honoring the fullness of what our ancestors wanted for us? What if vulnerability isn't weakness, but the ultimate form of courage? I'm reminded of Audre Lorde's powerful words. Caring for myself is not self indulgence, it is self preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. In a world that has historically devalued Black lives and Black pain, prioritizing our mental wellness becomes a radical act of resistance. During our conversation, Chanel shared a story about a community healing circle she facilitated after a local incident of police violence. People came in with their armor on. You could feel it, she recalled, but by the end there were tears, hugs, phone numbers exchanged. One man in his 60s said it was the first time he'd ever spoken about his feelings in a group, the first time in 60 years. This is the power of creating safe spaces for our community to process collective and individual trauma. This is what becomes possible when we give ourselves permission to be human, to hurt, to heal. But the journey toward mental wellness in our community requires more than individual action. It demands systemic change. We need more Black therapists, counselors, and psychiatrists who understand our lived experiences. We need insurance coverage that makes mental health care accessible. We need research that centers our specific needs rather than treating us as an afterthought. Advocacy is part of healing, Chanel emphasized. Sometimes the most therapeutic thing we can do is fight for better systems while we work on ourselves. This dual approach, internal healing and external change, creates sustainable transformation. It's not enough to just tell people to get therapy if therapy remains inaccessible or culturally incompetent. We must demand better while creating our own solutions. Community based approaches show tremendous promise. Faith communities incorporating mental health ministries, barbershops, and beauty salons becoming spaces for mental health screening and referrals, virtual support groups creating accessibility for those who can't attend in person. These grassroots innovations meet people where they are, reducing stigma through familiarity and trust. Joy is also resistance, Chanel reminded me. Finding moments of pleasure, rest, and connection isn't frivolous, it's fundamental to our well being. This perspective feels especially important. Mental health isn't just about addressing illness, it's about cultivating wellness. It's about creating lives where we don't just survive, but genuinely thrive, where we experience the full spectrum of human emotion, including deep, authentic joy. So I stand before you today, not just as someone sharing information, but as someone issuing a challenge. A challenge to disrupt the silence that has suffocated our community for generations. A challenge to recognize that our mental health matters just as much as our physical health. A challenge to understand that seeking help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. I challenge you to start one honest conversation this week about mental health with your partner, your child, your parent, your friend. Say the words, I'm struggling, or are you really okay? And mean it. Listen without judgment, share resources, hold space for pain without rushing to fix it. I challenge you to examine your own beliefs about therapy, medication, and mental health support. Where did those beliefs come from? Do they serve your well being? Are they based on facts or fear? I challenge you to advocate loudly and persistently for better mental health resources in your community, for culturally competent providers, for insurance coverage, for research that centers our experiences. And most of all, I challenge you to believe, truly believe, that you deserve to be well, not because of what you can produce or provide, but simply because you exist. That truth isn't just powerful, it's revolutionary. The healing begins when the silence ends. And it starts with each of us today, right now, making the brave choice to speak our truth and listen to others speak theirs. Our ancestors dreamed of a world where we could be whole. Let's honor their sacrifice by claiming that wholeness, mind, body, and spirit. Let's break the silence together. Let's heal together. Let's thrive together because our mental health isn't just a personal journey, it's a collective liberation.